Will East African nations ever find the courage to stand up for themselves? To end Western influence in the region, Uganda becomes the first East African nation to join BRICS. But the big question remains, will West retaliate? Let's find out. Uganda has officially become the first East African nation to join the BRICS alliance as a partner country, a move that has reverberated across global political circles. This announcement, made during the 2024 BRICS Summit in Kazan, Russia, signals a new chapter not only for Uganda, but for the entire East African region. The BRICS bloc, composed of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, now includes Uganda as a partner. So, what does Uganda's inclusion as a BRICS partner mean for East Africa and the global order?
African nations tap into BRICS for trade and infrastructure development while navigating the bloc's geopolitical implications with the West.
Uganda's entry into BRICS as a partner country is a game-changer for both Uganda and the entire East African region. Although Uganda has not yet secured full BRICS membership, its current partner status reflects a significant milestone in its geopolitical journey. BRICS, a coalition seen as a global counterweight to Western-led economic institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, provides Uganda with a unique opportunity to diversify its alliances, gain access to new markets, and strengthen its standing in the East African Community (EAC). The 2024 BRICS Summit saw 32 nations participating, including prominent emerging economies such as Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Nigeria, all of whom applied for partner status. Uganda's inclusion in this elite group reflects the strategic foresight of President Yoweri Museveni, who has worked to reposition Uganda as a key player on the global stage. Museveni's administration has long sought to diversify Uganda's international partnerships, and this BRICS partnership offers Uganda new pathways for economic growth, infrastructure development, and increased global visibility. For East Africa, Uganda's inclusion in BRICS could foster deeper regional cooperation and integration. BRICS offers Uganda and the broader region alternative financial systems that challenge the traditional dominance of Western powers. By becoming a BRICS partner, Uganda is now positioned to engage in BRICS-driven initiatives such as cross-border payment systems, development funding, and digital currencies, all of which could reduce reliance on Western-controlled financial structures. Additionally, Uganda's participation in BRICS offers the potential for stronger relationships with BRICS members like China and Russia, both of which are key strategic partners for Africa. China's investments in infrastructure and trade, and Russia's interest in expanding its influence in Africa provide Uganda with the opportunity to tap into alternative sources of foreign direct investment (FDI), as well as new technological and defense partnerships. Uganda's new partner status in BRICS represents more than just economic benefits. It signals a broader shift toward political autonomy. By aligning itself with BRICS, Uganda is positioning itself as an independent actor in the increasingly multipolar world, where countries can look beyond traditional alliances with the West. This could inspire other East African countries, like Kenya and Tanzania, to seek similar partnerships with BRICS, potentially reshaping the region's geopolitical landscape. As Uganda takes on this bold new role within BRICS, it raises a critical question. Why has Uganda decided to align itself with BRICS? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Uganda's decision to align with BRICS represents a calculated shift away from its traditional reliance on the West, especially in light of the strained relations it has experienced with key Western powers in recent years. The country has had a complex relationship with the United States and the European Union, often receiving substantial aid and security assistance, but also facing criticism on issues like human rights, governance, and political freedoms. As Western aid to Uganda has fluctuated, so too has Uganda's dependence on Western financial institutions like the World Bank and the IMF. Under President Museveni's leadership, Uganda has increasingly sought to adopt a more independent foreign policy, focusing on establishing new partnerships that are less conditional on political reform or governance standards. By joining BRICS as a partner, Uganda is signaling a strategic realignment toward a multipolar world order, one where it can engage with global powers like China and Russia on its terms, without the same degree of political oversight imposed by the West. One of the key drivers behind Uganda's decision to align with BRICS is the economic opportunity that the alliance presents. BRICS offers Uganda access to alternative financial systems, including efforts to reduce reliance on the US dollar in international trade. This is particularly significant for Uganda, which has long relied on Western-controlled financial institutions for development funding. With BRICS pushing for greater financial independence through the development of digital currencies and alternative payment systems, Uganda stands to benefit from a new economic architecture that could help stabilize its currency, the Ugandan shilling, and reduce its vulnerability to external economic shocks. Furthermore, Uganda's natural resources, particularly its oil and gold reserves, make it a valuable player in BRICS' long-term plans. As BRICS explores the possibility of developing a gold-backed currency, Uganda could become a key supplier of the raw materials needed to support such an initiative. This could dramatically shift Uganda's role from being an aid-dependent nation to a strategic economic partner within the BRICS framework. At the same time, Uganda's decision to strengthen its ties with BRICS presents challenges in terms of its relationships with Western powers, particularly the United States and the European Union. While the US and the EU have historically been Uganda's largest donors and security partners, Uganda's growing alignment with BRICS could strain these ties, especially as BRICS emerges as a bloc that challenges Western influence on the global stage. As Uganda pivots toward BRICS, what does this shift mean for the broader East African region? Uganda's inclusion in BRICS is not just a significant development for the country itself, but for the entire East African region. Many observers believe that Kenya, given its relatively advanced economy and strong ties to the West, would be the first East African nation to align with BRICS. However, Uganda's decision to take the lead in joining BRICS as a partner signals a shift in East Africa's geopolitical dynamics, with Uganda now emerging as a regional leader in economic diversification and international diplomacy. For Uganda, this new role as a BRICS partner places it in a strategic position to influence regional economic trends and become a hub for investment and trade within East Africa. Uganda's geographic location, along key trade routes and infrastructure corridors, gives it a natural advantage in facilitating trade between BRICS nations and other African countries. The Northern Corridor, which links Uganda to the port of Mombasa in Kenya, and the planned development of the Standard Gauge Railway (SGR) in East Africa, further enhance Uganda's potential as a regional gateway for BRICS trade and investment flows. Uganda's entry into BRICS also has significant implications for regional integration within the East African Community (EAC). As the first East African nation to join BRICS, Uganda's decision could inspire other EAC members to seek similar partnerships with BRICS, further solidifying the region's role in the bloc's global ambitions. Countries like Tanzania and Rwanda have been exploring new partnerships with non-Western global powers, and Uganda's move could accelerate this trend, potentially leading to a realignment of East Africa's geopolitical and economic alliances. Moreover, Uganda's BRICS partnership strengthens its ties with Russia and China, both of which have been increasing their influence in Africa over the past decade. China's investments in Africa through the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) and Russia's growing interest in expanding its geopolitical reach in Africa offer Uganda new opportunities for infrastructure development, trade, and technological cooperation. As a BRICS partner, Uganda stands to benefit from increased investments in transportation, energy, and agricultural sectors, all of which are key drivers of its economic growth. As Uganda continues to deepen its ties with BRICS, what are the economic benefits that Uganda stands to gain from this new partnership? Uganda's entry into BRICS as a partner country opens up a world of economic opportunities that could have profound implications for the nation's development trajectory. One of the most significant benefits Uganda will gain is access to BRICS' alternative financial infrastructure, which aims to reduce dependency on Western-dominated financial institutions like the World Bank and the IMF. By joining BRICS, Uganda can now tap into the bloc's initiatives aimed at fostering greater financial independence, such as cross-border payment systems and the development of a gold-backed currency. One of the most promising economic outcomes for Uganda is its potential to become a key player in the BRICS efforts to create an alternative global financial system. Uganda's gold reserves and oil deposits position it as a valuable partner for BRICS, especially as the bloc explores the possibility of launching a currency backed by gold. By contributing to this initiative, Uganda could strengthen its currency, the Ugandan shilling, and secure a more stable and resilient economic foundation. Additionally, Uganda stands to benefit from increased trade and investment flows from BRICS member states. The BRICS nations, which represent over 42% of the global population and generate more than 30% of global GDP, offer Uganda access to a vast and rapidly growing market. By aligning itself with BRICS, Uganda can expand its export markets for key commodities like coffee, tea, oil, and agricultural products, which will help improve its trade balance and boost overall economic growth. Furthermore, BRICS offers Uganda access to foreign direct investment (FDI) in critical sectors, such as infrastructure, energy, and technology. As BRICS members like China and India continue to invest in African infrastructure projects, Uganda is well positioned to benefit from new investments in roads, railways, ports, and power generation. These projects will not only enhance Uganda's connectivity with global markets, but also create jobs, stimulate local industries, and drive long-term economic development. Now the question is, how will Uganda's partnership with BRICS impact its relations with Western nations? As Uganda aligns itself more closely with BRICS, inevitably, tensions with its traditional Western allies, particularly the United States and the United Kingdom, will intensify. For decades, Uganda has been a recipient of substantial foreign aid and security assistance from the West. However, Uganda's decision to join BRICS reflects a growing desire to pursue economic self-determination and geopolitical autonomy, even if it means straining its ties with Western powers. Relations between Uganda and the West have been increasingly fraught in recent years, with Western governments often raising concerns about human rights violations, governance issues, and political freedoms in Uganda. The West has used these issues to justify cutting aid or imposing sanctions on Uganda, which has only further motivated President Museveni's government to seek out alternative alliances. By aligning with BRICS, Uganda is signaling that it will no longer be as dependent on Western aid and that it is willing to forge new alliances that prioritize national interests over Western political expectations. While the United States and the United Kingdom may respond with further sanctions or diplomatic pressure, Uganda's growing ties with BRICS provide it with a counterbalance to Western influence. Burden shifting. With the support of BRICS members like China, Russia, and India, Uganda will have access to alternative sources of funding, investment, and diplomatic support, allowing it to navigate Western opposition with greater resilience. Uganda's leadership in aligning with BRICS could also inspire other African nations to follow suit, further diminishing Western influence on the continent. As more African nations seek partnerships with BRICS, the West may find itself increasingly isolated, particularly as BRICS-led initiatives offer African nations a viable alternative to the conditional aid and investment structures imposed by the West. Now let's assume that more African nations join BRICS. What would happen to the Western power dynamics? If more African nations were to join BRICS, the implications for Western power dynamics would be far-reaching, fundamentally altering the global balance of influence in several key areas. The most immediate impact would be on global economic structures, where Western dominance has long been the norm. Currently, BRICS already represents over 40% of the world's population and a significant portion of global GDP. Adding more African nations, rich in natural resources and growing markets, would not only increase the economic clout of the BRICS bloc, but could also challenge Western countries' control over global trade and financial systems. One of the most significant changes would involve the dominance of the US dollar in international trade. BRICS nations have been vocal about reducing their reliance on the dollar, and some have already begun conducting transactions in alternative currencies such as the Chinese yuan or the Russian ruble. If African nations join BRICS and participate in these non-dollar trade agreements, it would further weaken the dollar's global hegemony. For decades, the West has benefited from the dollar being the world's reserve currency, allowing the US to exercise outsized influence over global trade and finance. A shift towards alternative currencies among a larger bloc would undercut this advantage, leading to potential instability in Western financial markets and a decline in the US's economic leverage. In terms of geopolitical influence, the expansion of BRICS to include more African nations would present a direct challenge to the political alliances that have defined global diplomacy for much of the post-colonial era. Africa has long been a battleground for influence between global powers, with Western nations, particularly the US, the UK, and France, maintaining strong ties through military cooperation, aid, and diplomatic support. However, in recent years, countries like China and Russia have made significant inroads in Africa, offering investments, military partnerships, and political support without the same ideological strings attached to Western aid. If more African nations align with BRICS, this trend would accelerate, leading to a potential realignment of global power structures. For instance, countries in East Africa and beyond could start shifting their military and security alliances away from the West, instead forging closer ties with BRICS nations, particularly China and Russia, both of which have been increasing their military presence and cooperation in Africa. This could weaken the West's traditional military alliances on the continent, such as the African Union's cooperation with NATO forces, and reduce Western influence over security matters, particularly in regions where the fight against terrorism and insurgency has been a key area of cooperation. Furthermore, the inclusion of more African nations in BRICS could signify a decline in Western soft power. For decades, Western countries have promoted their models of democracy, governance, and human rights in Africa, often linking these values to aid and trade agreements. However, BRICS nations, particularly China and Russia, offer a different model, one that emphasizes state sovereignty, non-interference in domestic politics, and economic development without the political conditions often imposed by the West. As African nations turn towards BRICS, they may feel less obligated to adhere to Western norms and more inclined to pursue political models that align with their unique contexts and needs. This could lead to a decline in the West's ideological influence, especially as African leaders look to countries like China for examples of rapid development and economic growth, without the need for democratic reforms imposed by external actors. Moreover, the political alliances that underpin global governance institutions like the United Nations could also be affected. African nations make up a significant portion of the United Nations General Assembly, and their votes have often been critical in determining the outcome of key resolutions, particularly those related to global security, human rights, and development. Historically, Western nations have relied on African support in these areas. However, if more African nations join BRICS and align their foreign policies with those of China and Russia, the West could lose its ability to shape international consensus on major issues. This could lead to a more fragmented global governance system, with BRICS and its allies increasingly pushing for reforms to institutions like the UN to better reflect the interests of the global South. So, as more African nations joined BRICS, the West lost all the power it had. Now, to sum this up, Uganda's decision to join BRICS as a partner country represents a bold and strategic shift in its foreign policy that could have profound implications for its future. As the first East African nation to join BRICS, Uganda is now positioned to become a regional leader, with access to new financial opportunities, markets, and strategic partnerships. BRICS's efforts to challenge Western dominance in global finance and governance offer Uganda a pathway to greater economic independence and geopolitical influence. For Uganda, the future looks bright, with BRICS offering new avenues for economic growth, trade diversification, and infrastructure development. Uganda is set to play a significant role in shaping the global order in the coming years. While the West may resist this shift, Uganda's leadership has made it clear that the country's future lies in alliances that enhance its sovereignty and national prosperity. Do you think Uganda is on the right track? Will the days of Western dominance end? Let us know in the comments section. Do you think the West can keep its power? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.